This is a very useful technique for testing your website and using the Safari WebKit Inspector on your iOS device. The WebKit Inspector is something that is included with Mac versions of Safari. It basically allows you to run diagnostics on a page, inspect the code and see the console output. So typically you might find that you might build a website like I've done here in RapidWeaver. This is using the Storm RapidWeaver theme. You might build a website like this and then find that perhaps something doesn't quite look right or work correctly on an iOS device, such as in Safari on iOS 7. So what I'm going to show you now is a little trick I've learnt on how to access the WebKit Inspector on an iOS device. First thing you need to do is on your iOS device is click on Settings, scroll down to Safari, tap Safari, and then on the Safari settings go right down to the bottom, tap on Advanced, and make sure the WebKit Inspector option is turned on. Okay, and then what we'll do is go into Safari on my computer here, and if I just open up Preferences, and we just need to do the same here, so you click on the Advanced tab at the end here, and then click Show Develop menu in the menu bar, like so. Close that and you'll just notice you get an extra menu bar up here called Develop. So what I've done here is I've just created, like I said, a very simple web page in RapidWeaver using my Storm RapidWeaver theme. It just comprises of an H1 heading here that says Hello World. You can see the code there and the content. And then I've just added a bit of extra custom CSS code here, which basically on screens less than 700 pixels wide, it will turn this H1 heading colour to red. So what you'll find, hopefully in a minute, is this text here that says Hello World will be red. So I'm just going to export the site to my local sites folder. So that's that done. Okay, so the next stage is turn on your iOS device. And I'll just log in. So we've done the settings, that's all fine. Go back, go back. What you have to do now is to actually plug your device into the computer. So I've got a cable in my drawer. Like so. I'm going to open Safari and I'm going to go to my website, which I've just published. So here it is here. Now, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but the text that says Hello World is now in bold and in bright red, which is what we wanted for the purpose of this little demonstration. And now if I go and open Safari again, Safari, go up here to the Develop menu, and what you'll see is up here at the top of the screen now, I'll just point it out, it says Will Woodgate's iPod. So I'm just going to click on that in the menu, like so. And this opens up the WebKit Inspector. Make that full screen. So this on the screen now is a representation of what's on my iPod Touch here that I'm holding. And what I can do, as you see, is I can, with my mouse on the computer, is click and select different elements. And you might just be able to make out on the iPod here that the screen is of sort of pale blue colour. And that's just as I'm mousing over different elements of this web page. So just as a quick example, we turned the text to red earlier. We just work on the assumption we want to change it back to black. So I'm just going to find the element in the page. So I'm just going through all the different HTML nodes here. So we know it's in the content container, it's in the content box, content wrapper, Hello World, there it is. So I've highlighted it on the screen here on my computer, and you probably might just be able to make out that it's also highlighted here on the iPod Touch as well. So that is the content highlighted, and if I go over here to the Styles panel, I can see my my code there. I've typed code. What was it going? Yeah, I used colour red for content H1 headings. So if I untick that, that disables that rule, and as you can see on the iPod Touch screen here, that's gone back to black. So that's just a really quick example of how to use the WebKit Inspector between an iOS device and your computer. It's extremely useful for instances where you might encounter JavaScript errors, particularly with something like if you're using jQuery or MooTools. You can open the console on here and basically get an idea of what might be going wrong on the iOS device. It's important to point out that where you've got Safari on a computer and Safari on an iOS device, there are actually quite significant differences between the two. Particularly Apple's implementation of Safari on iOS devices, they've done quite a lot to change how behaviours such as hover and mouse over are handled. So typically, when people come to me, maybe report problems, that sort of thing, I'll go into the iOS device, pull up the website, and then use WebKit Inspector on my computer to try and diagnose what the problem might be. And knowing how this works, it can save hours and hours of time, because otherwise you'd have to keep republishing the page and seeing what the problem is on the iOS device, keep hitting the refresh button and trying to get something working. Whereas to actually have this detailed level amount of information up on your computer screen, you can quickly diagnose problems and identify where issues might be occurring. So if you've not tried this before and you are a web developer, I definitely recommend you give it a shot. I believe that this option of being able to view the WebKit Inspector is only compatible with iOS 7. I suspect it's going to work on iOS 8 going forward as well, but I can't say that for definite because I've not used iOS 8 yet. But certainly iOS 7 it works for, and you'll need to be using the latest version of Safari on your computer, which I believe is, I'll just open it for you, Safari 7 at the moment. So providing you're running Safari 7 on there, iOS 7 on here, you wouldn't have any problems at all with using this WebKit Inspector technique.